Can a mother really build a business without burning out? Can you earn more without sacrificing your peace? And can you be soft and successful? As millennial women, we have been programmed to choose motherhood or ambition, family or freedom, time or money. We were raised on girl boss culture and then shamed for burning out under the weight of it. We've been told that rest makes you lazy, that wealth requires hustle, and wanting more means doing more. But what if I told you those are all limiting beliefs? What if I showed you a self development plan that helps you build a business in a more softer, more sustainable way, one that honors your feminine energy, your season of life, and most importantly, your nervous system? In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how I'm starting over and building a peaceful, profitable business that feels aligned. Hi, I'm Samira. I'm a mom in her 30s, rebuilding her life and dream business after a very tough season. I make videos for women just like me, women who know they are meant for more, but are craving peace, purpose, and softness, not hustle. In today's video, I'm going to share my exact self development plan that helped me believe in myself again, start creating content after years and years of self doubt, and begin building a business that aligns with my life as a mother, as a woman in this season, and as a woman that's just tired of being burned out. This video is going to cover my personal story of what led me to rock bottom, the limiting beliefs I was carrying, how I started rewiring my mindset, the exact tools and habits and resources I started using, what building a dream life looks like to me the feminine way, and how you can start too. This past year tested me in many, many ways that I did not expect. Physically, mentally, spiritually. It was one of those seasons of life that felt heavier than usual, and everything you once found comfort in started to feel unfamiliar. I didn't recognize myself anymore. I was functioning, I was making meals, attending meetings, taking care of my family, but I felt disconnected. It was like I was moving through life on autopilot, doing everything I was supposed to do, but deep down inside, I felt disconnected. My job, which once felt like structure, started feeling like a burden. I was so drained from trying to meet expectations, from constantly feeling like I had something to prove. I started to question if I was even good at what I was doing. Imposter syndrome crept in. I began to lose my voice, not just in meetings, but in my own life as well. That's when the fantasy of a quieter life started to tempt me. Maybe I didn't need to keep striving. Maybe I can just stop. Try to life movement got to me. I was just like, you know what? We're not supposed to be working. We're not supposed to be thinking. Our full life commitment should be towards just raising a family and running a home. Just thought that the soft, still quietness of that life would bring me peace. I know a lot of working women in their 30s were really drawn to the content that was being put out there of women baking without interruptions, just being able to focus on their kids without any notifications and tasks. And of course, there were extremities to the trad wife movement in terms of like that's not very realistic. And it's very true. In my personal life, it was not realistic. But there's a reason why a lot of women were really enjoying this kind of content, including me. It just looks so soft, it looks so peaceful. And it just started making me wonder like, okay, obviously I can't just give up everything and I don't want to downsize and downgrade everything that I have built so far where I can just focus on raising chickens and, getting raw milk from my cow. And eventually I realized I wasn't seeking peace, I was seeking an escape. One of the hardest truths I had to face was that no one was coming to save me. In the depths of my burnout, I leaned heavily on my husband, emotionally, financially, and spiritually. I needed him to carry the weight I no longer could. And while he showed up with so much peace and patience, I slowly began to realize how much I was surrendering my power. I had placed all of my hope on someone else to figure it out, to fix it, to make it better. But life doesn't work that way. I remember thinking, like, what if something happens to him? Like, what would I do? Because the truth is, I was outsourcing my safety, my vision, my strength, and it wasn't fair to either of us. Couldn't keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect circumstance, or the perfect help. I had to become the woman that could hold herself, not because I wanted to do everything alone, but because I wanted to co create a life not on dependence, but on wholeness. I started envisioning my future self. Would I still be lost? Would I still feel disconnected? Would I still be waiting around for clarity? And as exciting the trad wife looked, I knew myself personally would regret being that mom that never tapped into her potential. I didn't want to become this woman that kind of somewhat wasted the knowledge and the wisdom and all that I've learned the past decade. As things get tough, you just want to escape, just drop it and just hide, right? And that's kind of what I was doing. But by simply reframing my way of thinking in terms of like, how can I take the lesson from this and apply it to this next season of my life? That's the kind of woman I wanted to be. Long story short, I didn't want to continue losing myself in a way to escape the pain. That moment of awareness was my turning point. I realized that everything that I was resisting, the business, the purpose, the responsibility, the accountability wasn't the problem. The problem was how I was relating to it all. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't broken. I was just burned out, misaligned, and disconnected from what I truly wanted. And from that place of honesty, I was finally ready to rebuild. Step one, I knew I couldn't keep going the way things were. I was emotionally drained, uninspired, and just tired of being stuck in survival mode. I didn't have a plan, but I knew things needed to change. I needed to feel something new. So I returned to something that felt familiar to me, journaling. I just knew I needed to reconnect with myself. I wasn't expecting miracles. I was just, you know what, let me just write things out about how I feel. So I started writing every day. Now, there's a book that I love reading over and over again. It's called Inner Glimpse by Idle Ahmed. And she has a chapter in there called Welcoming New Energy. So I applied that one chapter to my journaling. It spoke about intention making peace for something greater, not by pushing harder, but just by opening up. I followed her advice. The first page of my journal said, I welcome new energy. I knew I didn't have the answers, but I was open to anything. Just pretty much saying I'm available to receive. I'm open to new energy. I don't know what that looks like. I just knew things had to change. Soon after that, I started stumbling on journal prompts, TikTok videos, little signs here and there in random situations, little signs to nudge me about what brings me joy, what lights me up, what brings me energy. And slowly, I started listening to old music that I had grew up listening to. I'm a huge Bollywood fan. And started replaying the songs that I had not listened to in a long time that brought me joy. You know, the 90s Shah Rukh classics. Like I started feeling good. It started, feeling more open. Started feeling more energetically like excited about what's to come. And that nostalgia, those good memories, the good times of memories that were attached to those music started making me feel better and a little bit less burnt out in terms of like what's coming next for me. Through that process, things started to shift. I kept writing about creativity, expression, contribution. And slowly, I started to feel that spark again. I remembered how much I loved creating, how much I loved sharing my story. And that's when the idea to start my YouTube channel came back to me again. But this time with intention, purpose, and softness. But in the moment, I got excited. Now, this is very important, where I started entertaining the thought of restarting my YouTube channel. A rush of fear started coming into me. I physically felt it like affect me. What did these fears look like? You're not consistent. Remember your first YouTube channel? You're not good enough. Remember those client calls when they got mad at you about results? You hate being seen. Remember how awkward you felt being an influencer? It's too late for you. You're in your 30s. You're 34 years old. What are you doing? Motherhood and business can exist. Who's going to take care of your kid while you run your YouTube channel? You need permission to be successful. Are you qualified to talk about the things you want to talk about? Remember how long it took you to make money? Working your way up the corporate ladder and working at a 9 to 5 job? Who are you to inspire anyone? Didn't you just hit rock bottom? Like, are you even in a place to help others? You need help. Now, these fears did not whisper, they screamed. I didn't ignore them, I observed them. And I decided right then and there, I'm going to challenge them. Now, I want to talk about how your subconscious really works. Because understanding how your mind works changes everything. This isn't just a woo woo mindset talk, it's actually backed by science. So, the brain is programmable. The more you repeat a thought, your brain locks in. It creates something called a neural pathway, which is basically like a shortcut in your brain that replays over and over again until it runs on autopilot, kind of like an app running in the background in your phone. Your subconscious mind is working overtime to find proof to back up that thought. It is like an evidence seeking machine. So if you keep telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, your brain will start looking for evidence to back that up, even if it's not true. And the longer you've believed something, the harder it is to shake it. That's why it's harder to change the mind of a 60-year-old person versus a 20-year-old with like a new idea. Just simply because there's more years of repetition behind that belief in a 60-year-old versus a 20-year-old. So if your current beliefs are working against you, changing them can feel very uncomfortable. It's almost like swimming upstream. But the beautiful part is it's possible. You can rewire your mind to believe better things for yourself. Have you ever wondered why we stay in situations that make us feel stuck? You ever thought about why we repeat patterns that hold us back, even when we know they're not serving us? It's because that we are wired to choose something that's familiar, even if it's painful. Familiar feels safe, predictable, known. That's how our brains are created to protect us from danger. It's simply a survival mechanism. This is why, for example, so many people stay in toxic relationships. Not because they don't know it's not hurting them, because the unknown feels scarier than the pain that they're used to. The truth is, we're not meant to survive. We're meant to grow, and growth requires discomfort. It's not easy, it's disorienting, it's painful. But that's when you stop resisting and you start surrendering. You will have to accept that you will not have all the answers right away, but you need to move forward anyways. And that's the moment that you embrace the shift. That's when you start releasing what's holding you back and step into the unknown with faith. And that's when the change actually happens. So instead of letting all those old beliefs and fears replay over and over again and take over and talk me out of starting something new, I began creating new ones. I started journaling new thoughts daily. I wrote out versions of my day where I did show up confidently. I highlighted moments when I did follow through. I made a long list of reasons why I was ready now, why I was capable now. And with each journal entry, I started rewiring my inner world. I opened up a deeper understanding. Living in survival means living in a scarcity mindset, bracing for disappointment, operating from fear. And the biggest thing for me was thinking there's not enough time, not enough support, not enough money, not enough worthiness. To make this crystal clear is that scarcity is fear disguised as logic. It feels like protection, but it actually causes a contraction. So the true shift came when I adopted the opposite of a scarcity mindset, which is abundance mindset. That there is enough, that I am enough, that God will provide what is meant for me. An abundance mindset reminded me of the following beliefs. I am here for a reason, created by God for a unique purpose. I am a miraculous being. No one has my story, my perspective, or my path. I don't need to prove myself to anyone. My worth is already written. I am here to leave behind an impact, not an income. I don't need to know the entire path, just the next step. The one who created me already knows the rest. So I started adopting these beliefs that were associated with that abundance mindset. And the more I aligned with that truth, the softer I became. The more my nervous system relaxed, the more my energy shifted from force to faith. I heard this somewhere from a girl on TikTok, and it can't be any more true. We trust pilots to get us to our destination without looking at their qualifications or like looking at them in the cockpit. We trust bus drivers to get us where we need to be. We trust packages from Amazon to just show up at our doorstep. Yet somehow we hesitate to trust the one that created us. Like, why are we like this, including me? But once I started trusting the one that created me, adopting an abundance mindset became super easy. Faith reminded me that I'm not doing this alone, that I don't need to see the whole picture to believe that it's all unfolding for me. When I thought that I shifted to abundance with clarity, a new wave of fear surfaced. This time it felt more rational. Let's not forget that I am a mother in her 30s. I was starting to think about the real responsibilities that I carried at this age: a mortgage, a child, a family depending on me. Was it smart to start a business again? What if it fails again? What if it was selfish to give up a stable income from a 9 to 5 for something that is uncertain? These fears sounded logical, safe, and reasonable. But then I started asking myself, what is the bigger risk? Trying and failing, or staying stuck in a life that doesn't feel aligned with who I'm meant to be for the rest of my life? So when I realized the biggest risk isn't failure, it's regret. If I wanted to move forward, I had to replace those repeating limiting beliefs with new empowering ones. Start asking, what are some things I want to start believing about myself? What thoughts would help me feel softer, stronger, and aligned? Here are the second round of beliefs I started adopting over and over again until they started feeling familiar. I trust myself and God has my back. I no longer need to control everything. I am guided by the divine. Where my attention goes, energy flows. If I live in frustration or fear, I attract more of it. But when I focus on gratitude and joy, I become a magnet for ease. If things get hard, I will find a way. I can figure things out because I have before. If others can do it, so can I. I can always shift my state. And lastly, other people's opinions do not define me. These beliefs became my emotional foundation. And I didn't do it alone. I use ChatGPT. I would ask it to reframe my thoughts, rewrite my belief, even generate journal prompts that help me step into the version that I want it to be. These beliefs became my emotional foundation. I didn't just write them once, I repeated them over and over again. I let them reshape how I walked, I talked, created, and made decisions. Now I want to share with you the exact tools that I use to help me reset emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Share the exact tools that I use to help me believe in myself and feel confident about it. As I mentioned before, the first thing that I always found comfort in, and it's very natural to me, is journaling. Now, I know journaling is not a habit for a lot of people, but you may have heard over and over again from self development junkies how important journaling is. Now, for me, I've always journaled my entire life. I was that girl that always had diaries, journals at a young age, and always documented whatever was going on in my life. So that came naturally to me and was the reason why I took it as a first step to help me step out of my rut. But this is a tool that even if you're not used to it, I do think it's really helpful. There is a power to putting pen on paper and seeing your thoughts on paper versus just entertaining over and over again. Oh man, I cannot believe my mic turned off. Now, the old me with my old patterns and belief system would have took this as a huge setback and would have been super frustrated and just would have started hating the process. But no, 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 just like I mentioned in the video a little bit earlier, that I know that God has my back and everything happens for a reason. Maybe the way I filmed or the way I talked about the certain tools and value that I wanted to provide for you wasn't going to leave a big enough impact. So I'm getting a second chance. Secondly, I'm sure every YouTuber has faced this problem. This is not enough of a big problem to make me give up, make me start hating it, and just accept that this is part of doing something that I enjoy, not spend too much time over it, and continue creating content that I love to create. Now, further ado, let's get back to the tools that help me reset mentally, emotionally, and spiritually and start building a dream life on my own terms. Now, I mentioned journaling daily. Now, this just takes 5 minutes a day to start. I personally love using a blank sketchbook because I've been journaling for years and I like the freedom to write whatever I want. But if you're just starting or want something more structured, the 5 minute journal is such a beautiful way to build a habit. I've linked it in the description below. Secondly, I love, this is kind of tied in with journaling, is guided prompts. Most of my breakthroughs came from journaling, and I got prompts from everywhere: TikTok, Pinterest, and even ChatGPT. Yes, literally, just ask ChatGPT for prompts around mindset, self worth, and confidence, and it will help you uncover so much. Third, I read a lot of books that help me rewire my thinking. I first and foremost read books that help me understand how the mind works. And there's a few books that completely shifted the way I see myself and success and money. I've included all of the links in the description. The first one that I mentioned earlier was Inner Glimpse by Idil Ahmed. Book number 2 that I recommend is How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is a proponent, thought leader, expert in this field, and helps explain scientifically, if this all sounds woo-woo to you, how your thoughts play a role in your reality. Third, this is an easy read, very funny and entertaining at the way this author tells stories, but You're a Badass at Making Money. That's another good one. And lastly, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. He is the founder of Mind Valley, and he explains really well how the mind works and how your thoughts also create your reality. So I will link all of those books in the description below. Another tool that I used was daily affirmations. Now, I know this sounds a bit cheesy to some, but they worked for me. So there's 2 ways that I use this tool. I would write it in my journal in present tense, or I would record the affirmations in my own voice and play them during walks. There's something powerful about hearing your own voice speak life over you. It feels familiar, grounding, and affirming. So just seeing how I show up for myself now and totally see life through a new perspective that makes me excited, less burnt out, and motivated. These tools are definitely working for me, and I really recommend you check them out as well. Now, if you're a woman in your 30s, especially if you're a mom, I want to speak directly to you for a moment. We carry so much, not just physically and emotionally, but mentally. And if you're anything like me, your 20s may have been spent trying to please everyone around you, shrinking yourself to fit into rooms that never saw your value, conforming to expectations, navigating cultural and family pressures, and losing pieces of yourself in the process. Maybe you were raised to be the good girl, the obedient daughter-in-law, the selfless mother. Maybe you learned that your value came from how much you could do for others and not from who you are. Or maybe you built a successful career and now you're afraid to say out loud that you want to slow down, that you dream of being a full-time housewife or a stay-at-home mom, or even just someone who creates quietly from home. Maybe you hesitate to talk about your faith, your values, or your softer desires because you fear being judged, misunderstood, or seen as less ambitious. These beliefs, they serve us once, they kept us safe, accepted, and approved of, but now they're working against us. They're the quiet voices that tell you that you're selfish for wanting more or less. They're the guilt that creeps in when you take time for yourself. They're the reason you keep playing small, dimming your light, or second guessing your dreams. But I want you to hear me clearly. You are allowed to take up space, you are allowed to evolve, and you are allowed to live a life that feels good, not just looks good. Now, what does a feminine dream life look like for me? I am not trying to build a hustle heavy empire. I'm building a soft life. For me, that means working 2 to 3 hours a day, doing what I love that attracts me all the wealth I deserve, dedicating time to my family and faith as a priority, having peace of mind, and supporting my family without burning out. To me, this is feminine entrepreneurship, intentional, aligned, rooted in healing. But here's the truth. I wouldn't have been able to step into this version of my life if I had not worked on my mindset first. Self development gave me the confidence to trust myself. It helped me to believe that I can live this way and actually sustain it. I look at myself now, sitting here filming my third YouTube video, and right now we're just recording the audio to redo it the second time, and I can hardly believe it. There was a time not too long ago where I swore I'd never show up online again. I thought I had nothing valuable to share. I was hiding, dimming my light, and afraid of being seen. But now I'm here. I'm showing up as my true self. No filters, no masks, no pretending. I've overcome the fears of being visible. I'm committed. I'm grounded. I'm genuinely excited to fulfill this dream, not from a place of pressure, but from a place of purpose. And more than anything, I know God has my back. So, if you're in your 30s, starting over, or just ready to step into a new version of yourself, this is your sign. It starts with mindset. It starts with choosing to believe again. Start journaling. Start speaking life over your dreams. Start small, but just start. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I do apologize that you don't see me and it's just a recorded audio at the end, but I really do hope that if you stuck around this long, you were able to just listen to what I have to say. I hope to see you on my next video. See you there. Thank you. Bye.